Lesson number 2 of this Credit Recovery World History, we're going to be talking about the agricultural revolution. So, this is directly an effect of lesson 1. So, if you have not watched it, please watch it. And footnote, watch all these in order. Go to Unit 1, Lesson 1, Unit 1, Lesson 2, all the way through. Then go to Unit 2, Lesson 1, all the way through, just so everything's a little bit clear. Because you'll notice that, again, causes and effect are a thing in history. So that is why we are going to be looking at environmental influences and what caused the agricultural revolution and its effects. So where we left off, we talked about how mankind were hunters and gatherers or nomads, and they moved around because animals moved around because they figured out how the environment works, where to get a drink, where to find food, so on and so forth. So as a result, mankind moved around. This is called the Paleolithic era. And with a new way of life, there is a new Stone Age or a Neolithic era is now going to evolve. And this is really the agricultural revolution. So, where man found out is that certain crops, once you eat them, you can actually replant the seeds and then it can grow more food. So, you're going to notice that things like corn or maize and rice in Asia, this is where the food is going to be really kind of a cultural identity to them. So here in the Midwest, here in North America, we can grow a crap ton of corn. Okay, and we can do it for various reasons, for our own eating or for animals to eat it. But we also found out that you replant it in our rich soil, and more of it's going to grow. So this is only a cultural, this is only a geographic thing. So there are certain conditions around the world that only certain fruits can grow in. For example, we cannot grow rice here in North America. We don't have enough moisture in the air. However, they can't grow corn in Asia because they don't have the fertile soil for it. So, true or false, all types of crops can be cultivated or grown in all types of climates. So, for the record, there are 5 major agricultural revolutions. Right now, we only care about the first one. You will eventually hear about the Arab agricultural revolution, where the root systems are going to be kind of cross pollinated, I guess you would say. The British agricultural revolution, we're going to talk about that as well, where we started using machines to do a lot of man's work. The Scottish Revolution, we will not talk about. But that's when we put things in rows to start building efficiency out of fields. Now, we're currently living in the Green Revolution. We are actually developing chemicals that will actually make plants grow better and protect them from bugs. They're called herbicides and pesticides. So why this is important is that this actually helps food grow in different parts of the world, which makes food more readily available for those that need it. But back to the time period, here are some major breakthroughs that are going to help early man really kind of flourish, I guess you would say. So because of the agro revolution, we're also talking about the domestication of animals. So if we look at this picture, you notice this fenced area. But domesticating means is we're now able to keep them alive inside of a pen. So this is actually a two-way street because we figure out that certain animals can actually produce more milk, more meat, or whichever. And you're going to notice that mankind is going to make these animals reproduce. So this is called selective breeding. So we can take the good and try to hopefully weed out the bad in this hopes. So because of the agricultural revolution, this codependency between animals and humans is going to start to take off, meaning we get other things from these animals to keep us alive, and they get stuff from us to keep them alive. So, a couple examples are going to be fertilizer, are going to be the leathers, the milks, the meats, and so on and so forth, and they need us to feed them in order to stay alive. Oop, forgot one. Yeah, so talked about that one. All right, so types of animals that were being domesticated during the time. Around the horn, you see some sheep, you see some goats, you see some cows, you see some pigs. And why this is all such a big deal is because these animals all produce more than one thing. Yes, they all produce meat to eat. However, they also produce milk. Okay, so don't knock it until you try it, but goat milk is not that bad. But more importantly, you're going to notice that their hides are also a big thing. You can start making clothes, homes, whichever out of them. And like I said, they use the fertilizer. So believe it or not, fertilizer is going to help the crops grow. Who knew? So here's where you're going to see again early cave drawings are going to help us unfold this mystery. So here's one that was found in, I believe, Syria or Algeria, somewhere in the northern coast of Africa, and it shows how mankind were basically herders. So you see this family, tribe, whichever, has a whole bunch of cattle. And if we were to go deeper into this, we could talk about the different breeds of cattle. We could talk about the roles that these most likely men, maybe kids, are doing, and just talking about the different ways that we can break all this down. Okay. But this is credit recovery. And right now we're just worrying about getting through. But here's my question for you: the taming and the changing of nature for the benefit of mankind is called what? So here are the other major breakthroughs, more of the crop side, I guess you would say. And you're going to notice that mankind is going to figure out how to be efficient or how to grow more food in less land. Okay. So here is where the big deal comes in. More food leads to more people. Okay. And more people goes to you need more food. So this is kind of a need more than a want, I guess you would say. So we actually figure out how to keep animals alive just a little bit better as well during this time. So again, these are some major breakthroughs. Here in 2022, we're thinking like, yeah, no kidding. But when we're talking about 15,000 BCE, this is kind of a big deal because they're figuring it out for the first time. So here are the types of plants they're going to be planting in order to increase production and to set themselves up for future success. And they're known as cereal grasses. So why this is such a big deal is that each one of these plants actually produce a seed that can then be planted again in the future. So if we were alive during the time we saw corn from a certain area was really good, we're going to save some of that corn and we're going to in hopes of planting it next season. So this was a thing. So that's kind of why this early plant domestication was such a big deal. We had to find this wild at one point and then kind of grow from there. So here's my question for you. Since food production went up with the agricultural revolution, the blank also increased. So here's some food for thought. And yes, I know that's a bad pun. Whoops, sorry. But that's a bad pun, but live with it. I'm a dad and I'm a history teacher. So it allowed people to settle in one spot. So they don't have to follow their food. Now they can just stay put when they find the conditions are right in nature. So because of the agricultural revolution, the need for technology is going to now explode. So farming tools are the thing. So you see these tools listed right here. These are all going to make life a lot easier for farmers, especially. So because of the agricultural revolution, you're going to notice that the population is going to go up, stuff I've already talked about. So also because of the agricultural revolution, you're going to notice that since people can stay put, they're going to need some sort of structure in their life now. So you're going to notice that governments, laws, resources usage, animal usage, and just a ruling system, a system of government is like the big deal out of this. So you're going to notice that because of the agricultural revolution and the food surplus, this is going to allow people to thrive. When you have a food surplus and people don't have to worry about where they're going to find their meal, they can now do other things, such as build up new trades or skills, start making art, start making jewelry, pottery, so on and so forth. And also because of the agricultural revolution, there's going to be a greater demand on the environment. We're going to have to cut down trees to plant more food. We're going to have to alter the course of rivers in order to have water to feed the plants, I guess you would say, or to water the plants. So irrigation is going to happen. So some good, some bad. But here's my question for you. The agricultural revolution allowed people to settle, which led to what?